So thank you so much for being part of the Virtual Art Summit, for contributing all of your joyful art. I am so thrilled to have you participate. So it's an honor. Thank you. Thank you so much. So how do you pronounce your name? Is it
Shemi? Yes.
Shemi, more French style, huh?
Yes.
I love that. Where do you live?
I live in Denver, Colorado.
Okay, great. You're out in the Rockies. Is it
I
still
am. I love it. It's really pretty here.
Oh, that's great. I just want to get to know you a little bit better. And then as the participants of the summit get to listen to this or watch it, they're going to get all the inspiration from you and just, what you're up to in your story. So tell me a little bit, like, how did you become an artist?
So I've always been a little bit crafty. My mom would send me to art classes when I was in middle school, and I've just always loved creating, but I kind of took a different career path. I started working in a hospital, and I had a back injury that was really bad. I was preventing a patient from falling. Art became something different for me from then on. Basically used it as a way to kind of escape my pain and just as a way to kind of cope with being depressed, because it was a pretty huge blow. I wasn't able to go back into that career path. So what I started doing was diving deeper into art, especially with process art. So I started making like these abstract watercolors, maybe like 15 minutes a day, when I could get my pain under control. And it really just helped me. I really saw that art wasn't just about making something that was beautiful, but it was really healing, and it had that possibility. So, and then I started a YouTube channel, and I started sharing videos, and it's kind of expanded from there, but that's how it started.
That's how it started. I can tell you're very process oriented too, which is really fun because I'm like at that point, like for the first decade of making art, it was like, what's the product I'm going to make? But it's so much more now. I realize that all I care about is the process, because that's the whole point of doing it. And that's when our best work comes out anyway. But I can tell like in your feed and just the work that you create is very process oriented, very maybe personal, therapeutic, and joyful in a lot of ways. So I see that and I recognize that and love that about your work.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about like your process, like what inspires you, what materials do you love, how do you like to make your work?
So I definitely love mixed media. So I love a lot of different layers. I usually use acrylic paint and collage. And I'm just inspired I love color and I love mark making. We have a lot of really beautiful natural things in Colorado. So I'm inspired by that too, by a lot of like wildflowers and just things that I see. I live in a very kind of urban neighborhood, but it's filled with art. So it's so inspiring to just see all the art here all the time and all the marks and the colors. So I'm definitely inspired by that too.
Oh, yeah. And the materials that you like to use, it seems like sometimes you like to like resource things that are non-traditional.
I do. I love upcycling for sure. Like I will definitely paint on a piece of packaging and try to incorporate it into my journaling. And I actually started one of the first classes that I taught, because I taught in-person classes here at this place called Colorado Free University, and it was altered objects. So literally we went to the thrift store and got a whole bunch of objects, and we just taught people how to like basically use lots of mixed media to create objects of art that they could display in their home. So like frames and vases, and it was so much fun.
I love it. Like so much want to see that. Like how, like I am like a thrift store junkie and I love that. And I'm always like, how do you transform this into something completely different? Glue, paint, more layers, paper.
Yes, that's what it is. Lots of embellishments. It's great.
So how long have you been teaching?
So I've been teaching for 4 years. Yeah, in-person classes. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Except for that break, for that 1 year where things got a little wild.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was kind of crazy. So I figured out how to use Zoom.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's great. So I knew that you had taught before. So that's one of the things that I kind of seek out in people to participate in Virtual Art Summit, because that means you have this flair for wanting to share all of the goodness that's inside of you and spread it. Like that's a great gift.
It is. And it's just an honor to be able to watch people create. I mean, oh my goodness, I would have so many people come to my classes and it was just amazing. A lot of them kind of had this injury because someone had said something bad about their art. And just to see them kind of work through that and just listen to their voice. Because even when I did my painting classes in person, I did an abstract painting class and an art journaling class. It was very process based. So there was not like really any like your art needs to look this way. I just taught a lot of techniques, and people would kind of come up with their own kind of painting, and it was just beautiful to see people just listen to their creative voice and trust the process, and just be able really to heal that injury that they had from someone saying something not so nice about their art, when they were
Yeah.
a child and being intimidated by the art process. So it was absolutely a wonderful experience.
I
It's
love
so
that.
beautiful creating with other people. It really
Yeah.
is. It's a whole different thing.
It's such almost a universal truth for most people that we start off so creative, and somewhere along the line we're told, unless you can do it perfectly, you're no longer an artist.
You're totally right.
And then all the joy in it is taken away, and so we just say that's for somebody else, which is a lie, because we all have the ability to be creative and to be artists. And then it just takes so much to get over those
It does.
hurdles. And so to nurture that in people again, and really honestly, the only way you're going to know how to make your art is to make your art, right?
Yes, it's true. It's kind of like you have to do it,
You
right?
have to do it. So then to have someone like you coming along and nurturing it out of them, do you have a lot of play processes in it? Like, I would love to hear some of your ideas. One of the things I saw you do was like just one square at a time on Instagram. Like, I was watching how you're like, let's just play one square at a time. But I would love to see or hear some of your other like favorite processes for play.
So I really love collage too. Like I just love making kind of these intuitive collages. So I just basically will grab images from a magazine and go through them, and then I just pick things that kind of speak to me. And you can do this in your journal. I do it a lot in my journal, and then I just kind of think about the images, and then sometimes words will pop out at me too. So I love that process. It always helps me and kind of helps me to tap into with what I'm going through. And it's amazing the things that come up. So I really love that. That's a really fun process. And another thing too that I love to do is just kind of lay down colorful watercolor. And that's super fun too. So you can do like so many cool techniques. And then I just add doodles and marks. I really love kind of mark making. So I do a lot of that too. Like this is one that I shared a couple days ago, but just watercolor and then adding markers, and very simple, just 10
Yeah.
minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, and just relaxing and watching the colors blend together and adding marks. Yes. And
Yeah.
the challenge that you were talking about was start with the mark. So you're exactly right. We started with a grid. I did mine on watercolor paper. And then every day there was a prompt on different things that you could do. So like echo, tracing through a stencil, lines, thin and thick lines. And then at the end of it, I just covered it with paint and just let a little bit peek through. But it's just, you can start small. It doesn't have
Starting
to be
small.
anything huge.
Yeah, for those who are listening and don't get to see, it's just a lot of intuitive mark making that you're sharing. Color and mark making, and doesn't have to be anything
No,
representational, which is really fun and freeing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of
But
course,
you're right. And
we'll share a lot of this in the show notes for the podcast, and in the, because this goes on the podcast as well. We'll put it in the virtual art summit and everything, and everyone's going to get a taste of your style and your flavor and your inspiration anyway. So tell me more about a time as a child that you were making art or introduced to creativity. Like you were talking about that your mom even got you signed up in art classes as a young teenager.
she did,
And
yes.
what was that experience like, and how did it shape you?
So it was a really wonderful experience. I wasn't really excited about it before it happened, but she was like, it was the summertime, and she's like, you're gonna go do a class, which I'm so grateful for her for it. And she's a painter too, so we definitely saw art in our house a lot. And she makes beautiful oil paintings. But so the first class that I took was a colored pencil art, and it kind of just blew my mind because we layered all this color down, and you basically like picked an image. We picked an image from like a magazine, and the first image that I picked was a sunset. And over the course of 6 weeks, we painted it in, we sketched, and we figured out how you layer on colored pencil and how you create shadows and all that fun stuff. And it was amazing. I enjoyed it so much. And at the end of it, I gave it to my mentor, and she loved it so much. And I think that was the first time that I saw that art can also make people happy. It can really bring joy to them. And she still has it hanging in her house. We've
Yeah,
known each other
that's
for
so
20 years.
awesome.
It's so special to her. And I thought, wow, this is pretty amazing, that art can be so important to people, that it can touch them, that the colors and everything can mean so much. So I think you definitely have to create, and it's nice even if you make little cards or something to give to people. I love doing that because they really appreciate it. even if
Yeah.
it's a little sketch or just color or whatever. So
Well,
that's my true central experience. Yes.
the whole point is when you're given a gift to not hide it from everyone, right? But
That's true.
your beginning experiences sound very positive, so you can carry on that energy to the students that you're now coaching and teaching. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I love that. Well, I can tell it kind of just exudes. So, what advice would you give them as they're learning, as they're exploring, even if they've been a lifetime artist, how to loosen up and play more?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing is to embrace imperfection. So the main thing is to give yourself permission to just let your art be what it's supposed to be. Because I think we can get hung up on how we think things should look, or it should look like this one, this person's art, or I'm not doing something right. But you need that time to play and to give yourself permission to make art with freedom in order to really loosen up, I think. Because if you're intimidated all the time, if you're afraid, you're never going to start. And it's going to be such a terrible experience for you. And you don't want that, because it's just a piece of paper. It's just a canvas. You can turn the page. You don't have to show anyone. There's no pressure, which is what I love about art. And I think the other suggestion that I would have too is to celebrate small wins or small successes. If you maybe just have 5 minutes to just lay down some color, you should celebrate that. That's some way that you nurtured your creativity. So I think that we need to celebrate those small wins too, and be
That's a good
encouraged by
one.
that, because it's a
Yeah.
huge accomplishment with our busy, crazy lives to be able to just make some time, to create something, to spend some time with ourselves. So
Yeah, I totally hear that. Like I need to make a list of the great advice that I've heard since working on this summit, but we don't celebrate the small wins enough, do we? Like whether it's just having made the time to paint in the first place or make art in the first place,
absolutely.
or something even better, like someone gives you a kind compliment, or you get a chance to show your work, or you've given your work to somebody that's made them feel joy. Like what
Yes.
greater? Those are small accomplishments, but they're still big in the grand scheme of things, because we're furthering our own creativity, nurturing our souls, and nurturing other people with our art.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's super important. It's true.
Very. What do you have going on right now? Like what's exciting in your life, and what projects are you working on? Like how would people be able to connect with you and learn from you?
So I share weekly videos on YouTube, normally tutorial style videos. So I'm working on that. And then I'm working on an ebook too. It's called The Art of Letting Go. So it's going to have like 20 process art based exercises for your art journal, because I think that's a really approachable surface to start on. So I'm working on that. And it will have kind of videos to go with the exercises. So it's a big project, but I'm super excited about
Super
that too.
cool.
So
I
yeah, so
love
those are
that.
kind of the two big ones.
That's ambitious. Well, YouTube in and of itself takes a lot of time and
Oh,
energy.
it does.
It's a great way to connect with a new audience on a regular basis. So we'll
Absolutely.
make sure that everybody has, the links to that and connection, so that they can, learn from you more besides just in the Virtual Art Summit, that they can connect with you. One thing I love to ask my guests is, what is your big audacious dream? When you look at your future, what would be like the dreamiest, coolest, amazing thing for you to do or accomplish in your life?
Well, I went to Italy before the pandemic, and I kind of fell in love with it. So my dream would definitely be to move there, and I was able to connect with lots of like artists there. So to maybe like do workshops where people would come there and just soak in all the beauty that is Italy, the food and the art, and it's just so beautiful there, and it's so inspiring. So I'd love to do retreats. That's kind of my big, huge dream to do that.
That's a
But mostly
great
to just
one.
inspire people to create. So
Oh, I love it. So there you go. Everyone go and cheer her on and say, we want to do that. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so they can connect with you on Instagram at Shemi Dixon, right?
That's right.
Shemi Dixon. Great.
That's
I want them to connect with you and to, like I said, encourage you to do a retreat in Italy, because I think we'd all right about now could use that kind of letting loose and the finer things in life and the Italian style. I like that. I need travel too so much right about
Absolutely. Me too.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us in the Virtual Arts Summit. I am so grateful to have you here.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. So happy to be here too.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.